Hi, everyone, and welcome to the dossier. I'm so excited to tell you that today we have Matthew Nouriel with us. And if you've been on Instagram at all, you know he's this incredible influencer and he's an activist, content creator, and he's director of community engagement at JIMENA, which I think Matthew can probably tell you a little bit more about. So, welcome, Matthew, to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Maybe you can actually, before we get
Tell
into
you about
any of our,
JIMENA.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so JIMENA is an acronym for Jews Indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa. We're a nonprofit, a California-based nonprofit organization that works nationally. And in a nutshell, our mission is to achieve recognition of the history and heritage and rights of the almost 1 million Jews who were forced to flee or expelled from or ethnically cleansed from countries in the Middle East and North Africa, and also their descendants.
Wow,
Essentially, we're education and advocacy organization.
that's
Incredible.
that's an absolutely incredible mission to take upon because that's something like not even we the Jews talk about that all that much, and we
Mhm.
should. We really should. Now, um, the first question that I have for you, are you Matthew or Matt?
Matthew,
Matthew. Okay, my question for you is how
nobody's wiping their feet on me, babes.
okay. How are you
I love that.
how are you feeling, right? We want to know how you are. How are you doing?
Ah,
It's a crazy time. We need to like probably preface by saying that you're actually Persian, right? Your
yeah,
family's originally from Persia, from
from
Iran.
Iran. Yeah.
And so there's, given what's going on, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling kind of I want to start by saying I don't even like complaining about how I'm feeling because whatever um I'm feeling is it's a privilege to be able to stop and have those feelings that the people in Iran don't have that privilege, that what they're experiencing is 1,000 times fold worse than any kind of burnout I might be feeling. But I am feeling a burnout. I've been in the activism space, Jewish and Iranian, for since 2021, since May of 2021, and it has just consistently been nonstop. Um, After that, the following year was the Masa Amini murder and woman life freedom movement, and I went really hard for that. And then October 7th happened, and then last year the war between the regime in Iran and Israel happened, and I happened to be in Israel, and I was stranded there, and
Yeah.
that was like insane. And now this. Um, So I'm feeling just okay. So just to be completely honest and frank here, I have inattentive ADHD.
Matthew, we saw your post the other day, and I thought it was
Yeah.
exceptionally brave that you put that out there.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's not something I talk about very often, but I feel the need to kind of explain that because I've hit a wall emotionally and mentally. And when that happens, like everything just scrambles in my brain because there's so much information that's coming out of Iran right now. Like it's incessant and it's nonstop. And I feel a deep sense of responsibility to speak about it and to expose it. Primarily, I mean, one of my personal missions is to be a bridge builder between the Iranian communities and Jewish communities. And I feel stifled in that right now just because I'm so overwhelmed by it. And it's so devastating and heartbreaking, everything that's happening. So I'm frazzled. I'm like exhausted and frazzled.
I bet.
You
Not
know,
really had a break from any of this for, going on 5 years.
Yeah.
Um,
Matthew,
We
you're
have
looking
an,
after a lot of people. Who's looking after you right now? Because, I've got a kid with a profound ADHD,
mhm,
and I see it with it, like when he gets to that state of overwhelm, right?
mhm.
And it takes a long time. And I'll tell you something about kids with ADHD, and I suspect you're like this too. When the shit hits the fan, it's the kids with ADHD that you want next to you. because you guys are amazing in a crisis. Amazing. And just absolutely awestruck by how well the kids with ADHD can handle the pressure, but there comes that limit. And when that limit happens, you have to, like my kid also, he needs to go into his bed, pull the covers over his head, and I'll see him the next day. And you know,
Yeah.
you got to put your own oxygen mask on too, Matthew. Are you, who's looking after, who's making sure you're doing that?
Nobody.
Yeah,
Right?
it's hard, but you
I,
do have to because otherwise, the work, so it's like a pressure point, right? The work that you do is so important. And if you're not, able to function really in this atmosphere right now, then all of the people that love you and look to you are unfortunately going to miss out. And so there, you do need to self-care. It sounds really tacky, but self-care is really important at this stage, especially with what is going on
After this
right
yeah.
now.
podcast, you're going to go eat some ice cream. You're
Well,
gonna,
I do. I mean, I
We're
do
moms,
that.
can
I
you tell?
do. I
right?
have learned over like the years, I have learned that, you know what? It's okay to close your laptop, put your
Yeah,
phone down, go lie down and like just do nothing, which is
yeah,
really hard for me to do. But I have learned that I can do that. I have learned that it's okay to go get, In-N-Out burger and self-soothe that way.
And a
Uh,
little bit of sugar for
a
that
lot of
ADHD brain,
sugar. Well, we
sugar
know
for that
how
ADHD brain, right?
yeah, we know all about the dopamine irregularity that takes
Yep.
place, and it's taken me
Sometimes
years. I'll
the
yeah,
tell you,
best
I'm
thing
so
for
glad
that
to know
Nouriel
that
is some ice cream because that you'll get that sugar. You need the sugar.
I'm not an ice cream person. I'm a like
Gummy
cookies and
bears.
cake, and
Yeah.
I like pastries and
yeah, yeah,
chocolate, and I have, it took me years to figure all of this out, by the way, and it's almost a relief to know that like, okay, this is a dopamine irregularity, and that's why you're going for all the chocolate cake and all the, all of that stuff,
yeah,
which all kind of makes sense. Um,
Well, you
so
know
yeah.
what makes you extraordinary, Matthew? What makes your brain function at this extremely high level, right? Like you're able to handle so much complexity. I mean, we've watched a lot of your reels. You handle so much complexity, and that's that ADHD brain that runs at hyper speed, and you're burning so many calories and so much sugar running at that hyper speed. What makes you
Thank
I mean,
you.
but it makes you extraordinary. It's your superpower. And
That's
and
very
and
kind of you to say.
I
Thank you. I
yes.
think a
And
big problem in me is that like my brain will work. I can't catch up with the words in my brain.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
problem. That's why you'll
it's
see
a
in
superpower.
conversation, I have to pause a lot because I'm
Yeah,
trying to remember what it is that I just thought.
My
Um,
son has ADHD too, and it's a super, you see the world very
superpower.
differently also.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
we need to get
Let's
back
move
to,
on. Let's
Yeah,
move
yeah,
let's
on.
get
okay.
back
But
on track.
So, I wanted to ask you because I think you're so unique in this moment, and which is why we were chasing you down and begging you to please join us on this podcast because
Yeah.
there is a very strong alliance between the Jews and the Iranians, the Israelis and the Iranians. There is a very strong alliance. I feel like a lot of people really don't understand it.
Mhm.
And you've got this intersectionality in your life where you're both Jewish and Iranian, and we'll talk about your other intersectionalities later, but for now, that space is so incredibly unique. And I think you are in a unique position then to talk to people about the alliances between, Israel and Jews and Iranians. And, we get a lot of comments. Why are you standing up for the Iranians? They tried to bomb us. And
Mhm.
people don't really understand anything about what's going on over there. So, can you talk to us about sort of how you feel? Kind of, is it a stuck in the middle? Is it you're being torn in two parts? Like, how are you feeling about that?
I mean, there are times when my heart feels like it's being torn into two parts, and then I have to stop and remind myself that anything that, for example, you said Iran is bombing Israel. I always correct people. Iran wasn't bombing Israel. The Islamic Republic regime occupying Iran. was
That's
bombing
right.
Israel, and the people of Iran, by and large, don't want anything to do with that. And so it's really important to make that distinction. The regime that is in Iran, which we don't say the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is the official name, because we don't believe this regime is of Iran. It is an occupying force that is in Iran. Um, and so people really, really need to understand that and make that differentiation, especially when it comes to the discussion around allyship and friendship between the two nations and two peoples. It's a very simple thing that many Iranians are asking us to do is to make that differentiation. So I think it's very important for us, if we're going to be allies, to make that differentiation. It's a matter of respect, and it's a matter of showing that you understand, that you get it.
Yeah.
Um, what was the rest of the question?
Well,
Sorry.
and I think just to follow up, I think it's so important for us to reiterate whenever we possibly can that the regime that currently occupies Iran is actually recognized as a terrorist organization, both in Canada and the US. So
The
Yeah.
they're running
IRGC.
the country.
So just a quick correction with that. The IRGC is recognized
Right.
as a terrorist
Okay, fine. So
organization.
the military force behind the regime.
Yeah.
So just so you know, the military there's the military, there's the Iranian military, and then there's the IRGC. The IRGC is a military force, if you will, that's sole purpose is protecting the regime.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there, I believe,
Interesting distinction, because I mean, I don't think
most people don't know that. I see
I
people
didn't know that
referring
until
to
right
the
now.
regime as the IRGC. It's not. The IRGC is this force, and within the IRGC, we have the Basij, which is essentially a volunteer force. Um, the IRGC's sole purpose is protecting the regime and also training Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, all of these terrorist
So
militia
far
groups.
reaching. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so far reaching. So
So that's
personally,
what
how
they
do you
call it.
feel?
Sorry.
So personally, do you feel like you're being torn between these two? I mean, it's got to be so hard, right?
Yeah, so like for example, when I hear that there's like when I heard that Iran or the Islamic Republic had sent rockets and missiles into Israel, my initial instinct is to be like, this breaks my heart. My heart is being torn in two. My homeland and my motherland are in fighting with each other. And then I stop and realize, wait a minute, this isn't my homeland and my motherland fighting each other. This is the Islamic Republic regime that
Yes.
I have to make that distinction to myself. And I understand that it's hard for people to process that. It's even hard for me to understand it sometimes. But it's when I remind myself of that, it reminds me of A, my mission, and B, why I have to keep fighting. And that my heart is actually not being torn in two, that the two sides of my heart are on the same side. And that's really important for me to remind myself of, and I want everybody to remind themselves of it.
I think that's that. I think you just put a pin in something that people really needed to hear. So thank you for that. I've heard the term, and this is a total pivot, but I've heard the term racism by low expectations.
Yeah.
And, look, I'm Israel. I was born in Israel and I was raised with a very specific belief of what an Arab is. And I thought that everybody, that was from an Arab nation wanted to kill me. Like I had a very, that was my upbringing anyways. So, I
Can
think,
I ask you a question on that? Was
yeah.
that when you say you were raised with that, was that taught to you in your school, or was it just something environmentally, like within your family or
Well,
community?
my father was an IDF soldier, and I think that he referred a lot to, the people that wanted us dead. But as a child, I didn't know the distinction, and I
Hmm.
didn't know to ask and educate. My mother's Moroccan, so and she had her own experiences in Morocco and having to flee Morocco. So I always felt like anybody from uh, a Middle Eastern country that wasn't Israel probably wanted me dead. And I didn't grow up with an understanding, aside from my parents telling me that the Iranian people were highly intelligent because my parents did tell me that a lot. I really had a very skewed vision of what the Middle East was. And I'm from the Middle East. So I can only imagine what people who are not from the Middle East think of, the people of that region. And so I think the term, racism by low expectations really resonates because I believe that people really don't get it. So have you felt that in your travels and in all of the work
Ye-
that you've been doing?
Yeah, so what I see most commonly is in terms of, for example, the Gazans. I think that there's this idea that October 7th was excused because this is how people react when they're up against a wall or when they're oppressed, and that we don't, this opens up such a can of worms. Like, in terms of the oppression of Palestinian people, in my mind, and I know people get pissed off when I say this, but you have a choice to make, and and it's not just, I'm not saying everybody thinks this, but it's not just the leadership. There was a lot of citizens, ordinary citizens of
Yeah.
Gaza who were very much happy about October 7th, and we saw the videos, right? So that's a choice that was made. So when you choose to consistently value war over coexistence, you're making a choice that has consequences. Okay. So the racism of low expectations comes in when that choice is excused because, and I see it all the time, it's not said outright, but it's like, well, the subtext is those are a bunch of Arabs, brown people
Yeah.
from the Middle East, and that's their culture. To rape and pillage people is a culture. I grew up amongst Middle Eastern people my entire life. I'm Iranian, not only Jewish Iranians. That's not our culture. And I can't speak for Arab culture because I'm not Arab and I didn't grow up in Arab culture, but I've known Arab people who that is not their culture. And if that is their culture, we need to call that out rather than pacify it. So that's the racism of low expectations. The other place where I see it so blatantly is with LGBT members of the LGBT community who are part of the Queers for Palestine movement, who will outright say, people like Matt XIV, and I talk about this all the time because it's infuriating, has said, I don't hold Middle Eastern people to the same standard that I hold American
Oh my
people.
God.
He said it like
Oh my
outright.
God.
Right.
And he used gay marriage as an example, and he said the standard is different. For us in the West, gay marriage is the standard, but they don't have that there. And I'm like, are you listening? Like, do you even comprehend the words that are coming out of your own mouth? Because there are LGBT activists throughout the Middle East and North Africa who are literally being killed, risking their lives to speak up for LGBT equality, for the privilege that we have over here. So that is the clearest form of uh, racism of low expectations.
Yeah,
What it's what's okay
that's
for me is not what's good enough for me is not good enough for them because of their culture is bullshit. I'm sorry. We didn't have gay marriage. We haven't had gay marriage for that long. We haven't had equality here for that long. When we were fighting for equality, when the LGBT community was fighting for equality in the 60s, 70s, 80s, can you imagine if someone from another country was like, well, it's American culture to be homophobic, so it's okay.
yeah.
Well,
It's
I mean,
insane.
the joke in Canada is that in Canada we don't talk about gay marriage, we just talk about marriage, right? Because it's just so
Right.
accepted, and
Yeah.
Canada is the one with the TV show that had the first gay marriage that wasn't a problem, right? It wasn't something to be overcome. It wasn't something to be outed. It was just a wedding,
It just was.
which I'm sorry.
It just was.
It just was. And I love that. Let's talk a little bit about that intersectionality because you really you're sitting on the cusp of three intersectionalities, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
You're queer, you're Persian, you're Jewish, and here in Canada, the problem that we're facing is, and I'll use the example of Pride in Montreal. the Montreal Jewish LGBTQ organization, which is the oldest one in Canada, was kicked out of Pride this year and told not to march by
As by the way, as was an LGBT Iranian organization for standing up against October 7th and Hamas.
right.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
um where like I mean this must just be component to that overwhelm where like is this part of your activism?
It is. It's definitely a part of my activism. Sort of exposing that hypocrisy is sort of like a big deal for me, and it's not just with the LGBT community; it's with any community. I look at it as an issue that's more an issue of the left than specifically of the LGBT. Because people ask me all the time, like, what's it like? What the gays hate us? I'm like, the gays don't hate you. Like that's not what's happening here. But
Right.
I think it's important to sort of break down where this comes from and why. And I think it's to do with political tribalism and loyalty to a political tribe. And the truth of the matter is, it wasn't the right that was fighting for LGBT equality, it was the left. So there's a sense of loyalty to the left. I think the problem is when you start becoming a sheep that follows and forget about critical or independent thinking and you're told what things you're supposed to believe according to your political tribe, and it's on the right as well. I think that's where the problem comes in. So I like to sort of raise my hand and be like, yeah, you guys are the ones who taught me how to be authentic to myself. And now you're telling me to not be authentic to my Jewish self, that you'll only accept me if I'm the right kind of Jew, and that is to say, an anti-Zionist, and I have to pass a litmus test, and so on and so forth. And as a community, the LGBT community should know better than anyone what that feels like. Because growing up, for example, in the 80s and 90s, well, not in the 80s, but in the 90s, as I was a teenager, I was expected to be the right kind of gay to be accepted, right? And I was outright told by family members and community members, well, if you're going to be gay, like, just dress well, wear a suit and tie, become a doctor or a lawyer, marry a woman, and do it on the set. Like that.
Marry a
Yeah, I mean,
woman.
that's where the
Very
community
woman.
was at that time. And so
Oh my God.
it's
So
kind
are
of
you
the same
feeling
thing in reverse now. It's like hide who you really are and just so we can accept you.
so now are you feeling that pushback within the Jewish community or the Persian community? Like are you having to censor like your queer self?
No. Well, I do want to name that I don't like the term queer.
Oh
And
no,
it's
yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
tell me which one you like, because
I just
Yeah.
LGBT or gay is
LGBT.
fine.
Okay, because
I
I
and
Okay.
have
it's a
like I have
recent realization. So I grew up in London until I was 13, 14 years old, and the word queer was used derogatorily towards me so much.
okay,
So when it
Oh my
started being
God.
used as this umbrella term, I tried really hard to embrace it because I love an umbrella term and it's
right, right.
a bit of a tongue twister to say LGBTQ plus whatever, whatever, or now I just say LGBT. Um,
So do I. So I
yeah,
have, but I have a daughter who's queer. I have two kids who are
yeah.
gay. I have a daughter who's queer, and that's her choice. That's her term of choice.
Great. It's all good.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what my
Yeah.
problem with it is, though. My problem is, first of all, it was a derogatory term, and personally, I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm
Yeah.
more power to you. I think maybe the generation after me didn't experience that word the way that I
He's
did.
younger than you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I presume so. The other
Yeah.
problem I have with it is this sort of appropriation of the term that a lot of people I guess I don't care about offending people. It's like if you're
I know
a
exactly where you're
biological
going with this.
woman, for example,
I know where you're
and
going.
you're heterosexual according to your biological sex, but you then shave your head, call yourself non-binary and queer, and now all of a sudden you're appropriating the real trauma that I experienced for something that, in my view, is all about optics. So now all of a sudden everybody's queer because they have blue hair or a shaved head and they're non-binary. Well, that's not how it should work,
Yeah.
right?
I'll tell you, my daughter's not queer because she has blue hair. She has
I'm
blue hair,
sure.
but
Well, no, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, not everybody who identifies as queer is what I'm saying. It's really
Yeah.
easy for people to now sort of appropriate an exotic identity, which I
Yeah.
hate. And we see it with people appropriating Jewish identity all the time as well. which I
Yeah.
can't stand. Like we see people who convert to Judaism or discover that they had like a Jewish parent or grandparent and were never connected to their Jewish identity before, and now appropriating that identity to weaponize it. And it's infuriating to me.
You
The
know, you're
anti-Zionists. Yeah.
absolutely right. And you know, my older daughter runs into the same thing all the time. The one who's she also likes the term queer. I'm so used to using it now. My
It's all
older one is
good.
LGBTQ, and she runs into that as well. Like where, and the problem is that it creates a lot of frustration with the whole community. And there's a lot of that, and then everybody just wants to reject the whole community, the whole queer community, as opposed to
Yeah,
dealing with individuals authentically. And I hear your frustration. We experience it in this household as well.
I'm
Um,
sure.
So
yeah,
let's
and
get some advice. Matthew, can you give advice to our high school and university students who are in the LGBT community and are feeling so super marginalized right now?
You mean Jewish LGBT?
Yeah.
well, I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah,
my older kid, like she lost all of her friends, right? She had most of her friends were in the LGBTQ community
yeah.
and not necessarily in the Jewish community, and she lost all of her friends, right? And now she's gone looking for LGBTQ Jews,
She's smart. That's
because
what she should do.
yeah, but there's nobody else will talk to her, right?
And
So
a lot of time, even LGBT Jews who've grown up with the privilege of being more American than Jewish, oftentimes will take that
right.
same
And
anti-Zionist
they
stance.
right,
Yeah.
and they fall all over themselves trying to fit into the monolithic left.
Yeah. So my advice would actually be for the broader Jewish community, because while it's become our problem as LGBT Jews, is not finding a space, I think a lot of that is rooted in the fact that while now there's a lot of openness amongst the Jewish community when it comes to LGBT people, just we all have a family member, a friend, whatever. But I think that we could certainly do a better job of making sure that the members of our communities, and especially our young people and children who are LGBT, feel welcomed and wholeheartedly accepted. So I do want to name that. In terms of the LGBT community, I think that my advice is to seek out not only fellow Jewish LGBT people who are aligned with you on politics or on your identity, but anybody who is. And it's really difficult. And I don't know if the towns that you live in, or it's a small town, or if there's just not a lot of Jewish people there. It's incredibly difficult.
We have
If there's
200,000 Jews in Toronto.
You're in Toronto.
200,000.
Yeah,
And yeah, and a lot of these kids are feeling really alone. And
I
so, all advice is welcome. All
yeah,
advice.
I like that advice because I'm always I get very twitchy when I don't like the advice of like seek out the LGBT Jews, which you like absolutely do that, but not exclusively. I personally get a little twitchy when we sound like we're going to start self-ghettoizing. And I think
We're
that
not
once
self-ghettoizing, we're being ghettoized.
right, once we seek out the you're absolutely right. You're right. Once we seek out the LGBT Jews, now we in our safety in numbers, now we go find our allies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, listen, I think there's sort of, it's a very difficult lesson for our Jewish Zionist LGBT young people to learn, is that you obviously have a very strong sense of self, and it's about not shying away from that. And instead of feeling intimidated by people's dislike of you, standing up and saying, "This is who I am unabashedly. This is who I am. I am a Jew who is proud of being a Jew. I am LGBT and proud of it. Being a proud Jew, as far as I'm concerned, you can't be a proud Jew and deny Israel's right to exist as an indigenous Jewish homeland. This is who I am. Take it or leave it, and fuck you if you can't take it." And I find that when
Yes.
I started doing that, like maybe it wasn't until 5, 6, 7 years ago, like that's when I started to find my community because people start to gravitate towards you. Because when people see you, when you're visible in that, then other people who feel the same way can approach you or find you and be like, that's how I feel. So it's not easy to do. It's really difficult, but it unfortunately, I feel like those of us with these kind of intersecting identities really, well, I can speak for myself. I didn't feel like I had a choice. And granted, I'm an outspoken person by nature, so it's easy
Yeah.
for me to say,
It must
but
be very empowering, though,
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
well, well, it was because I spent a good portion of my life like trying to fit in. If I was around the Iranian Jewish family, I was trying to fit in there. And if I was around the LGBT community, I tried to fit in there. And it was downplaying one side of my identity or the other. It gets fucking exhausting.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do it anymore.
You know,
And
what I say to my daughter is like, look at all the incredibly brave things you've already done, right? Like you came out as LGBTQ to your family, and she's adopted. So she got kicked out of her family for being LGBTQ, and that's how she came to
oh,
us,
wow.
right? And now you've come, and now you're living more Jewishly, right? So you're living more Jewishly. You're out as a Jew in amongst your peer group, and you've come out as LGBT. You've done these two incredibly brave things. Now let's decide what the next brave thing is that
Yeah.
you're going to do because you've already proven that you're brave and you've
Yeah.
already proven that you're resilient and you've already proven that you've chosen to live authentically. So now let's decide what the next brave thing is that you're going to do.
And I think that's incredible parenting, quite frankly. And it shows like, I really believe that, especially as LGBT young people, when we're kids, all we need, we really what strengthens us is that acceptance within the home and unconditional love within the home. That kind of it gives people. I feel like it might not have necessarily been what I received. So in hindsight, I feel like had I had that it would have empowered me so much more. And I think that once you have the strength of knowing that you are loved and accepted, and no matter what the outside world thinks, your family always has your back, is incredibly empowering.
Well, you need
Um,
that one person that you know you can call, and the first thing they're going to say to you is, "Where are you? I'm coming to pick you up."
yeah,
Yeah.
totally,
Right?
Yeah.
totally.
So let me ask you a question. I'm gonna take this from the personal and make it a little more political. Because
Okay.
one of the reels that you had that you've pinned actually to your profile on Instagram, you talk about how you used to have a home in the left.
Hmm.
And right, and you feel
Hmm.
and we all know that right now, and we've talked about it already. The left is a monolith, right?
Yeah.
You have to swallow the entire ideology. It's like an ideological omnibus, right? You want to believe in women's rights, in LGBTQ rights, in social justice, in anti-racism. You have to be anti-Israel.
Hmm.
Or else you don't get to be a member of the club. If you won't drink all the Kool-Aid, then you don't get to be a member of the club. Now, do you have and I mean the United States is so polarized at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you have like are you dreaming up a solution? How do we deal with this? Because we have the same situation here in Canada.
Yeah. It's equally as
And
bad here.
what
Yeah.
we're aiming for is to try and sort of dig up a political center. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you have any like, I don't know, pie in the sky? If I was the leader of the free
Magic,
world, this is
magic
how I
pill.
would organize it, ideas on how we can fix this.
I mean, I just think the idea of like political unity is just so out the window these days. Um, I don't feel like I'm part of the left, but I don't feel like I'm part of the right either. So a lot of people make that mistaken assumption when I say things like that. I've been told that I've red pilled or this or that, the other. It's been a valuable lesson for me because I learned that not to judge people based on their political affiliation, which is a huge lesson. Because now I have friends who run the political gamut, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives. So I think it's important to sort of find connections with different people from different political leanings and humanize yourself, like as an LGBT person. It's important for me to do that. And you'll find what you have in common. I will say that believe it or not, the friends who are on the right are still my friends. The ones who are like on the far left are not my friends anymore. Not even the far left, like just the left. So I think there's this interesting misconception that the people on the right are completely intolerant. And yes, we see some of that with certain politicians, and that the left is the political side of tolerance, and it is not. It is so intolerant. Um, so I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I'm not a political analyst or a politician, but what I do know is when I create content like the video you're referencing, it does really well. And that indicates to me that I'm not the only one who's feeling the way that I'm feeling. So I think, again, it comes down to being able to be outspoken and honest and letting people who are perhaps feeling what you're feeling but don't know how to express it or haven't seen it expressed enough, giving them the opportunity to feel empowered so that more people who are in the middle, and I truly believe that most people are uh,
Yeah.
in the center, can feel like they can speak up or rise up and can make these demands of the political parties that they're affiliated with. And I do want to say, yes, in that video, I said I've left the left. However, I think it's incredibly important for people to remain within the left and to remain within the right, especially as Jews, as LGBT people, because I think the last thing we want is, for example, the Democratic Party to become completely Jew-free or the Republican Party to become completely LGBT-free. We need those anchoring voices within those parties to be able to hold them accountable. Which
Canadians, are you listening? This is very, very important.
I think a lot of people feel I don't remember, I can't think of the word right now, but basically abandoned by all parties. Like we don't have a party because
So,
we really just want to be in the middle, right?
Yeah,
yeah, my,
We
my,
want,
my next question, the obvious next question is, but then who do we vote for?
I
yeah,
mean, I can't say, do you know
yeah.
how many times I've done speaking engagement? I did a speaking thing right before the election, and people were, it was, who are we supposed to vote for? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I can't tell you who to vote for. I certainly can't tell you who to vote for in Canada. I don't know who your options are, but
They're
I
not
think,
It's just
dissimilar. They're
so
not
unfortunately,
dissimilar.
polarized,
Except
it's,
right?
we have one party that's like basically Jew free now, or the only Jews that are in it are the IJB Jews, and I don't count them as Jews. Um, but we're very similar polarization that you have, but our Jewish community has largely picked a side, and I don't.
But I don't know that everyone's comfortable with that side. So
Yeah,
that's the problem. There's a
I don't
lot
think
of,
everyone's comfortable with that at
yeah,
all.
everyone here is just confused, I think.
they pick
It's
what, the
really,
right?
yeah, I think Jews inherently tend to be more left,
More
right?
liberal,
You
more
know,
more
we tend
small
to
L
be,
It's
liberal.
an interesting discussion because coming from a Mizrahi background, that's never been the case in
Okay,
my
fair.
upbringing, which is very interesting because we talk about this a lot at JIMENA, and I'm sorry, I
it's
keep
okay.
clearing my throat. Um, but there's this overlooking of a lot of Mizrahi communities because they traditionally have leaned more right, because it didn't meet this American sort of Ashkenazi um, standard of being more left. But I think that with everything that's happening right now, and with organizations like the one I work for, JIMENA, we're able to sort of expose that and say, listen, we really need to unite as one people and accept the fact that some of us are more right leaning and some of us are more left leaning. I
Yeah,
personally have always been more left leaning and what I would call a classic liberal, which is to make sense in what the fuck you're saying and like to
yeah.
be
Yeah.
logical.
Small
Um,
L liberals. That's most of the Jews in Canada are small L liberals.
Yeah, I think we're in a really unfortunate position because you're left with this sort of weighing out of who's the lesser of two evils, which I guess when you have a two-party system, again, I'm not sure how it is in Canada, but here it very much comes
The
down to
same,
Democrats or
the same.
Probably
Republicans.
similar.
Um, you're stuck in this situation where you have to weigh out the lesser of two evils. But I think as Jews, we've now have this added pressure of self-preservation, and the left isn't valuing us. They
Yeah,
don't view us as a minority, first of all. They view us as the oppressor
that's so
versus the
true.
oppressed. So, and the ironic thing about that is that you're pushing us further into right-leaning spaces, right? Which in their view is also like, see, they're oppressors. Not that the right are oppressors, I'm speaking about in their perspective. So, as somebody who's LGBT and Jewish, it puts me in an incredibly horrible situation. Like, I don't know what I would do now,
We
if
were
I had to
talking
vote.
about DEI before you came on,
Hmm.
and we're like, should we ask him about it? Shouldn't we ask him about it? Because the
Yeah.
truth is, you're in like, Jews themselves have become this oppressor. All of the anti-hate strategies and the anti-racism strategies, that are taught in schools for so many decades, put us in that oppressor space, which is in large, the result of that is a lot of what we're seeing today.
Sure.
And
So,
But I mean,
it's
even
yeah,
more
like,
so, they put us in the oppressor space for two reasons. One, because they think we're all white. They don't even acknowledge your existence. They don't even acknowledge that they're
right.
brown Jews. And number two, because our kids generally graduate
because we're
from
successful.
school, because
Yeah.
they generally graduate from school and they generally get accepted to university. Despite, but that's,
You're
and
right.
they don't have room in their view to realize that that's despite all of the racism and discrimination and barriers that Jewish students uh,
Yeah.
Face. Yeah.
yeah, face.
It's interesting because we're not the only minority community that they do that to. I think it's more explicit because we have more members of our community who perhaps pass as white or present as white or whatever you want to call it. But I've spoken to Hindu Indians, Indian people who've experienced this, some members of the Asian community,
Yeah.
Yep,
um,
here.
and Iranians, by the way. Especially now, we're seeing a lot of this. I think I've said this before. I think the people who are on the left who are more moderate really need to make their voices more heard because those who are less moderate are ruining everything for us. They ruin everything. They just
And
ruin
they're
everything.
loud.
Like
Yeah.
DEI it should be a positive thing, right? It's about equity, inclusion,
Yeah,
Like,
they're
diversity.
it
all
sounds
beautiful
really
words.
good.
They're
It
wonderful
sounds
words.
It's just
great.
the in
Yeah.
practice part that's the problem.
Well, the in practice part is a huge problem because, first of all, it's dishonest. It's solely rooted in a superficial idea of racialization, right?
Yeah.
Who counts? Those who don't look, those who don't look white, those who don't function as white, which is where we took the Indian people that we're talking about, the Iranians.
Yeah.
As an Iranian, I don't think I've ever been viewed as a white. When I walk down the street or go to a store, people don't look at me and go, "Oh, that guy's name is Tyler. He's a white." Like
Yeah.
it's just
Us,
I don't
not dogs.
function in life as a white person. I don't
Yeah.
function in life as a black person. I'm not saying that either, but all of that kind of goes out it's all very superficial and as far as I'm concerned, you can't talk about diversity without including diversity of opinion, diversity of thoughts, diversity of belief, and that none of that is included. In fact, it's explicitly excluded. So they've ruined it. It should have
Well,
been
and
something good, but and when it becomes
that
doctrine, you ruin it also.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it circles back around, right? Because what DEI does is it entrenches that racism by low expectations,
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it
right?
does. Absolutely,
So
it
we come
does.
full
Oh, you did
circle.
that really nicely. You
Yeah.
did that
Good
really
job.
nicely.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Tyler. Okay,
High five.
I know it's been like almost an hour and you're
Has
probably like,
it? Oh my gosh.
yeah, you're probably like, oh my God. Um,
Didn't feel like it.
wh I'm going to ask you an emotional question.
Hmm.
Where's your home? Like in my heart, I'm Canadian, but my home is Israel in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my home. This is where my children were born. I live here. I've been here for the majority of my life. But like in my DNA, I feel like Israel is it's my safe home. It's my safe place. So
Yeah.
where do you feel is your home?
Um, that's an interesting question. And as somebody who was moved from the UK to the US at 13, 14 years old, um, uh, um, I used to have four pictures up on my wall. They got old and grimy, so I threw them out, but there were like these tinsel kind of cutouts. And one was a map of Israel, one was a map of England, one was a map of Iran, and one was a map of California. And I had those up specifically because I consider all of those places my home. Um, but yeah, I guess all of those places are my home. Maybe not physically. I mean, I've only been to Iran once and I was like not even 1 year old. So, but culturally, it's certainly a part of me and part of my home. So all of those, all of the above.
Do you still have family in
In
Iran?
Iran?
Yeah.
No. I had one great uncle who remained there and didn't come with the come with the rest of the family who left in waves. And he passed away there, and he was the last member of my family who was there.
So just the last question, um,
Mhm.
that is, you're on this mission, you're on several missions, I feel like at the moment, right? One is recognition for the Jews that were expelled from the Arab countries. Number
Uh-huh.
two, safety for Iranian people. Number
Freedom.
three, freedom and safety for Iranian people. Number
Yeah.
three, recognition of our indigeneity as Jews to Israel.
Hmm.
Um, how can we help? What's the if everybody who's watching this podcast could do one thing, what would it be?
For specifically the Jewish community,
Yeah,
yeah,
and our allies. We have a lot
We
of
have a
Hindu
lot of
allies.
Iranian people that are going to
Yeah,
watch this.
we
well,
have a lot of
actually, I think
Iranian
my
allies.
advice would be the same to the Jewish community or non-Jewish allies and the Iranian communities, and that is to really educate yourselves about each other. And with the Jewish community specifically, specifically in North America, where it is predominantly Ashkenazi, I think we've been sort of in Western countries have been. I can use myself as an example. In England, I went to a Orthodox Ashkenazi primary school. Okay, I was never taught anything about the history and heritage of not only Jews from Middle East and North Africa, but Ethiopia. Like once they mentioned, like it was like a throw, like the Ethiopian Jews were a lost tribe and now they're returning to, like that was it. Um, we weren't even taught like the Babylonian, the Talmud was a product of a diaspora community that were in Iraq, in Babylon, right? So I think it's really important for us to learn each other's histories and not absorb it as something that's out there and something that's their history, not mine. As Jews, we really need to embrace the idea that we are one singular global community. And a part of doing that, an important part of doing that is to learn each other's histories from various diaspora communities and understand it as part of my history. If I could grow up knowing that the pogroms in Russia and the Holocaust was ingrained in me as part of my Jewish history as a Jew, why can't Ashkenazim do the same thing in terms of what MENA Jews went through or what Ethiopian Jews went through? It isn't this other history. It is all part of the collective Jewish story. And we really, really need to understand that and absorb it as such. I'm not saying speak over, okay? I'm not saying part of that is actually giving platform to people who have these experiences and making sure that their stories are exposed and taught within Jewish academic spaces. It's so important. because I think it's empowering and it strengthens us and it strengthens who we are. I think, moreover, so many young Jews in North America and in Europe, when October 7th exploded, and we had all of these professors in universities teaching a revision of history and of who Jewish people are, our own young people were ill-equipped to
Yeah.
speak up against it. So
Mhm.
when you have a professor telling you that you're white European usurpers and you're colonialists from Europe, and our young people don't know how to react to that because all they've been taught is that we're from Europe and we experienced the Holocaust in Europe and our Israel is our homeland, it's not sufficient. There's a large space between our origins in Israel and the Holocaust and the recreation of the state of Israel that not enough people know about.
Well,
Our
of the three of us,
Ashkenazi young
I'm
people
the
need to
only
know,
white European colonialist of the three of us. So,
but that's the
but
thing, you're not, and you
that should
have to
be
know that.
demonstrable, right?
You have to know your own history, and I'm not presuming you don't know your own history, but for
No, I'm
example,
just
this
joking.
whole idea of Jews coming from Poland. Well, how did Jews end up in Poland?
Yeah. Yeah.
How? And not enough people know that because we need more people answering to that. So I think that's a huge thing. We need to know our history. Our history is our strength, it's our power, it's our
But
shield, it's our
There's a
sword.
lot of people
you
that say the
you
exact
speak,
same thing as you. It's like a
right?
repetitive, we do lots of interviews and lots of educational segments, and everyone says the same thing. Jews need to learn their history. They need
Absolutely.
to learn their history.
And conversely, we need to know the Iranian people's history too and how it intertwines
Yes.
with our history.
If
Yes.
we understood our history, then we get to come full circle, right? My family ended up in Germany because we were expelled during the Inquisition from Spain,
Okay, and how did they end
right?
up in Spain?
Right. But what I'm saying is that you come full circle, we end up with we who are super duper Ashkenazi, right? We've been in Germany for like 500 years. We're super duper Ashkenazi, but our roots are Sephardic.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
everything comes to like we're all one people. You go back far enough and we were all at Sinai.
Absolutely. And just so you know, that's the beauty of JIMENA, by the way. A lot of people are like, well, you're excluding Ashkenazim intentionally. You're saying only Jews whose diasporic experience was in the Middle East and North Africa are indigenous. And I'm like, no, we're not. That's how we get our foot in the door, honey. Like,
Yeah.
that's how we get in the door. And then it's like, oh no, all Jews are indigenous
Yeah.
to the Middle East.
You're
All Jews are
absolutely
indigenous
right.
to the Levant. Our
Yeah.
diaspora experience may be different, but
Right.
our
It
origin
diverges.
story is the same.
Yeah. It diverges. You're absolutely right. I mean, truer words, right?
And language matters too. If you'll notice, I refer to our diasporic experiences or diaspora experiences.
Yeah.
Really, we're not from, my family's diaspora experience was in Iran for 2,700 years.
Hmm.
We're
Yeah.
from the land of Israel.
That's a great way of actually, that's a really great way. If we could get all our kids to speak in those words, then they would all understand that their home is Israel. It
Yes,
would
but
it
see,
would it
that's
would be second nature all the time.
absolutely,
That's
but
why
that's
Yeah.
your jobs as parents to make sure, like,
Yeah.
have meetings with your Jewish studies teachers and so on and so forth, and ask them, are you bringing in, for example, at JIMENA, we have lesson plans available for them so that all of everything I talked about, including our history and heritage and so on and so forth, even if 10% of the community is Sephardic or Mizrahi, then at least 10% of the curriculum should be based on that. We need to know each other's history. So, what are our parents doing or to ensure that that's happening in our Jewish institutions?
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I say that to my kids. My kids get very they get very involved in trying to figure out what percentage of what they are, right? They'll be like, well, I'm 15% South African and I'm 33% German and I'm 27%
Yeah. Kids
Canadian
do
and
that.
I'm
It's
8%.
interesting.
And I always say to them, yes, but you're 100% Jewish
Mhm.
and you're 100% Israeli and it says so on your passport,
There you go.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And also just FYI, those commercial DNA tests only go back a few hundred years. They're not fully
Oh, mine was
reliable.
really fun. I loved mine. Well, I left 50%
Yeah,
Ashkenazi
really.
Jew, and then I got Italian in it because I think that my Moroccan heritage comes actually from Venice
A lot
and
of us have a
through
small percentage of
Portugal.
Italian. It's really weird. Mine had a little Italian as well.
Yeah, I
So
think it was the Venice, the Venetian Jews.
that's where the Jewish community in Europe began.
Maybe I should
Yeah.
do it and see how much Spanish is actually still left in my DNA from 500 years ago.
Do
What
it.
I would recommend is to do one of those tests, see what it says, and then you can download the raw data and then upload it to a site called, I think it's called illustrativedna.com, and it will actually show you your ancient DNA through the times. And
Interesting.
mine came back as 50% uh, Canaanite,
Oh, wow.
Canaanite.
What?
50% Canaanite,
Wow.
But see, we could get
ancient.
into a whole historical debate. Like that's my background. I studied history into a whole historical debate about the Canaanites versus the Hebrews and
Yeah.
were they
We don't
separate?
have time for that today.
Yeah, but that would be a
That's
very
another
interesting
session.
conversation. That's so interesting. I can't believe they could actually identify
Yes,
Canaanite
so
Yeah,
DNA.
I'm
it
totally
went
going
through
to do it like
different
today.
the different
Yeah.
ages, the Bronze Age, this age, that age, whatever. One of them, I was like, oh my God, that said 50% Canaanite. That's nuts. Like
They're
that's.
super duper indigenous. Oh my
But
God.
I venture to say a lot of us probably have some
Yeah.
degree
Okay,
of
now I
that.
want to do it. Now I
I'm
want to do
going
it.
to do it
I'm
today.
curious to
I'm
see
gonna
what
do it.
happens when other people do illustrativedna.com's
I'm
test.
totally gonna do it. I'm gonna
I'm
send
going
you
to
a
do it
link,
like
whatever you
we're
send
going to
me.
hang up and I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Matthew, thank you. Is there
Of course.
anything else that you would like to tell our listeners?
Um, just to remember who we are and to stay strong, and that though things are difficult right now, always to keep hope. I think that that's something that both is ingrained in Jewish culture and in Persian culture. It's why the Jewish people have survived against all odds, and it's why the Iranian people will survive as well.
Thank you so much. I hope you take care of yourself and
Yeah.
rest.
Thank you. Thank
Go
And
you.
have
yeah,
a
and you
have
know,
a
you've got two
lemon
Jewish moms
Danish
here
and a
happy
nap.
here. We'll
What's
send
that?
you stuff, whatever you
You're
need.
so sweet. Yeah, I have two Jewish moms on the phone with me. It's very cute.
You 100% do.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and if you ever need someone to, ask you where you are and we're coming to pick you up, we'll do it.
We'll
Thank you
try.
so much.
Okay, we're
All right,
behind
honey.
you every step of the way. You never have to walk alone.
Thank you. That means the world to me.
And thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for all your advocacy and everything that
Thank
you're
you.
doing. It's so important.
Thank you. It's my
Thank
pleasure.
you. All right.
Yeah. And you're a superhero and use your superpowers.
Oh
They're
gosh,
amazing.
thank
They're
you.
amazing.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you. You
Thanks,
too.
Matthew.
Shabbat shalom.
You
Shabbat
too.
shalom.
Okay. Bye-bye. I loved him. I
What a
loved him. Oh my God.
superhero.
I loved him. He just looked tired, but I like we're tired. I can only imagine how tired
But
he is.
didn't you just want to mom him?
I did.
Like, I want
I
to
did.
adopt him. I want to
Uh,
adopt him and
yeah,
like,
you know,
right?
so brave. Yeah, he's really brave. And I think that was a really important voice because, as we said earlier off camera, I think our Jewish community really needs to have people that they can see themselves in,
Yeah.
and I think so many people in our community can see a part of themselves in him and his bravery also.
Well, because he straddles the entire intersectionality of identities. I mean, we all
Yeah.
do, right? I mean,
Yeah, but him a
some
little
of
bit
us,
more than the rest of
the
us.
intersectionality is, we're the child of Holocaust survivors or LGBTQ or, neurodivergent. Let's bring that
Yeah.
in as well. And I mean, Jewish or
Yeah.
Persian or for our allies, right? There's intersectionality there as well. But he really straddles some challenging communities that have not
Yeah.
always, that have not always accepted each other's identities.
And it's a lot of hate. I remember growing up, my dad used to say to me, people will hate us because we're Jewish. And
Right.
then we saved the Ethiopians and brought the Ethiopian Jews to Israel. And he was like, oh my God, people are going to hate them because they're Ethiopian. And the racists are going to hate them because they're
Yeah, because
black.
they're black.
And it's like, you just pile it on,
Mhm.
and there's so much hate and so much racism in the world right now. And people are so polarized that when people come out and are open about who they are and are brave, I think the trickle down effect of who it helps, like, it just, to me, that was incredible for me. Like, I think he's an incredible human being.
I think the message that the Jewish community is not monolithic, but at the end of the day, we're all Jews. That idea that we all start like, I saw you at Sinai. We were all
Yeah.
at Sinai, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this before, that all the Jewish souls that ever there were and ever will be were all at Sinai to receive the Torah, right? The Ten Commandments in the Torah. And so we were all there. And even people who convert to Judaism, their souls were at Sinai. They just got waylaid. And we all got waylaid, right? Think of it,
Yeah.
it's almost like a big bang, right? The expulsion from Israel, the destruction of the Second Temple, the expulsion from Israel, the the dispersal of the Jews, and this idea of the wandering Jews means that we're not a monolithic people. There's no such thing as looking Jewish. There's Chinese Jews.
That's
There's
right. There's
Indian
white
Jews
Jews and black Jews and every
and
kind of
brown
latte
Jews,
Jew and brown Jew and it's like
right?
I'm
And
that Jew,
blue-haired
right? It's
Jews,
it's like he does.
right?
Yeah. So yeah,
But at the
it's
end of the day,
even in
we're
my
all Jews,
family, we have so many different ones. Just in my household, we have
right?
Iraqi Jew, Moroccan Jew, Ashkenazi Jew, Israeli Jew, Canadian Jew. That's just in like my house in where
Okay,
I
so
live, right?
so my house is very we're just all pretty much German, South African,
Yeah. My
German. We
mother
all
was
go
born in
back. We all
Morocco.
go back. Like my grandmother and Sean's father lived within a few blocks of each other in Germany.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like it's so, and then you have like my family. My mother was Moroccan. My father was born in Kazakhstan. His parents were from Poland. My sister was born in Montreal and I was born in Israel. So
right.
it's like that's one family.
Yeah.
So you can't, like, nobody can stick the finger on a Jew and be like, you're, a white
But
European, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't
but we're
exist.
all indigenous to Judah.
Yeah.
Judea. We are
Yeah.
all indigenous to Israel,
Yeah.
and we all begin. And I love this idea of um, all of this heterogeneity, let's say, of our diaspora experiences should
Yeah.
be expressed as diaspora experiences, as opposed to I'm from Germany. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm from Judea, but we spent a few hundred years in Germany.
Yeah. And I
Right?
think
And
all these
before that, we spent a
lefties,
few hundred years in Spain. And before that, we saw, who knows, we were in Babylon. I don't know.
I think all these lefties who Matthew was talking about, that have gone so far over to the left that they are now the racists, right? I find it amazing that people are racist against people that come from everywhere. That we
Yeah,
may have
well,
all started in Israel or,
right.
been in the Sinai together, but we dispersed everywhere. We are everywhere. We are white, we are black, we are straight, we are gay, we are everything. We are everything in between. We are everything. And so, that level of racism that is lobbed against us, people need to start looking in the mirror because
Well,
we are not any one thing.
right. And we know that racism, that the wings are not straight lines,
Yeah.
right? These are curved lines that then meet in the middle, right? So you've got the
Yeah.
left wing right? And in this particular analogy, they call that the red side, right? The
Yeah.
Marxist, communist, super lefty side. And that red side, and then you've got the brown side, named for the brown shirts, with
Yeah.
Nazis and the fascists, and the brown shirts, and they meet in the middle at anti-Semitism and Jew hatred,
Yeah.
right? And that's where the left and the right converge. And the
Yeah.
fascists start sounding like the
And it's really
communists,
scary.
and they converge at Jew hatred.
Okay, we're gonna need to wrap it up. So I want to do a quick rundown of our week because this is a crazy week.
It was a
So I'm
crazy
gonna
week.
give us 5 minutes. All
Okay.
right. So like rapid fire for us anyway, as rapid as 2 menopausal women can be. Um, So it was a crazy week.
Yeah.
First of all, we had to deal with Prime Minister Carney running
Yeah.
around to like Qatar and China and Davos and using statements like New World Order, which are so dystopian and scary, and making buddies with Qatar, that
China.
funds terrorism and I just, it's like, we sent out an email. We sent out an e-blast about it, but it is just so, my brain was ready to explode.
Well, the thing is, Canada's caught in this wave that we're seeing since Trump was elected for a second term. There seems to be a race toward a new global superpower, right? Like in the past, like I'm putting my historian and political theorist hat on for 1 second. Cold War, you had the two superpowers. You had Russia or the Soviet Union and the United States, and they kept the world in balance because they balanced each other out in terms of their hegemony, right? There was
Yeah.
a a
It was,
binary hegemony
yeah.
that balanced each other out. Okay, so Soviet Union collapses. Now you have one superpower, the United States, but the United States has been economically and intellectually in decline and politically in decline.
Americans aren't going to like that you said that.
They're not going to
Okay.
say that, but it's the truth. But now you have Trump who's trying to resurrect the American hegemony, and you have China on the other side trying to become the new hegemony. And you also have these Middle Eastern powers who are trying to create a hegemony or trying to create an allied Arab front.
I
Okay,
watched a TED talk
where
about
does
just
Canada?
this years
Okay,
ago.
okay. Well, I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah.
Where does Canada fit
Oh, Canada
in
has
the
no
superpower?
business
No, but can't.
talking
Okay,
about any of this.
so Carney's trying to figure out where the hell does Canada fit
Well, we're not
in
a,
if
we're
you
a
have a
middle power. He
cleavage,
called us a middle power,
right? So, but you
which
have
is correct,
three
but
potential hegemons, right? Rising up, China being one, the United States being the other. And although the United States is just trying to basically hang on to the power that they have
yeah.
and revitalize their power, and then you have the potential of the Middle East, right?
Okay. We're getting
Where does
past our
where
time.
does Canada who does Canada ally with? Because I mean everybody has to
Well,
fit under.
Canada needs to ally with America, that is, the biggest ally to Israel, and we need to be very
Correct.
careful about making friends with
Right.
terrorist,
Which is
uh,
why we're all mad at Carney right now because
yeah, New
he's
World Order and
yeah,
buddies with Qatar. Yeah, it's
right.
scary.
And China.
Okay. I think we need to go because it's been
Okay.
well over an
But
hour.
the roundup, listen, for those of you who are interested in what CWAA is doing, we're working very hard at the moment on Bill C9 and trying to make sure that the amendments that will protect the Jewish community make it into this bill. And who did we meet this week, though, Revi? We actually had a chance to meet with
Yeah,
the Minister of Public Safety, Gary
we did. We
Ned,
did.
and the Secretary of State in charge of crime, Ruby Sirota. And we were able to join a panel of Jewish community members to bring some of the really the clear and present risks and dangers that the Jewish community is facing to these people in
We
leadership.
were the only two women in the room.
We
I'm just
were,
going to say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Except for
I'm
Ruby.
really
Ruby's a
hoping
woman.
that that sparked, we were made promises at that meeting. I'm hoping those promises come true. And there will be more about C9 coming out. I don't know if this will drop before or after we push that out, but there will be more. And
Watch our email space.
yeah, and please register if you aren't registered for our newsletters. Please do so at CWAA.ca so that you can get action items because action items come out more often than these podcasts do. All right, so we'll see everybody next Tuesday right here. And Natalia, have a great day. Shabbat shalom, because
But
today's
shalom.
Friday. We film Fridays.
But
And
shalom.
uh, and everyone have a great week.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.